Okay, welcome once again, independent living students, to the Credit Cards Charging to the Future presentation lecture. Why don't we go ahead and get started? Okay, so when it comes to how we as consumers make purchases, for a long time, the only way that a purchase could be made was by writing a check or paying by cash. However, that is not the only way that consumers can make purchases. Another way is to purchase things now, any type of goods and services, and then pay later. That is credit. So let's take a look at credit and how it can impact consumers and how they purchase, as well as the benefits and the drawbacks to credit. Before we get into any of that, though, let's first define credit. So credit is the ability to borrow money or access services or goods to be repaid later. This comes from a resource known as Experian.com, which is a credit website which has great resources as well as a way to actively monitor your credit score. Now, within credit, there are different types of credit. Let's talk about three different ones. Number one, revolving credit. This is credit cards. So this means that the credit is continually open. So purchases can be made, the credit balance that needs to be paid back fluctuates, payments are made, which makes the credit balance fluctuate, and that credit availability is always open to the consumer. There's also installment credit, which is cars or mortgages. So this credit is you make the borrow, the credit is closed, and now it just takes a period of time to pay back that loan of the money that was borrowed. For cars, usually anywhere from 36 to 72 months, whereas mortgages would be up to 30 years. Then there's also service credit, like utilities and cell phones. So for these, what we are doing is we are paying for the utilities after we have used them. So a utility, it's determined how much of the utility we have used, and we're charged accordingly. Cell phones, how much of our cell phone service has been charged or has been used, and incorporates that into the charges that we have to pay, that we pay on a monthly basis after the services have been used. So when it comes to having a credit card, credit cards are ways to establish revolving credit and make purchases as a consumer and then pay back the balances later. So positives for having a credit card are it can help you stay on top of your day-to-day spending. It's a way of tracking what is purchased from day to day, month to month, year to year. It'll help you keep track of your expenses. So as you keep your receipts for the purchases that you've made, you can take those receipts and compare them to the monthly statement that is sent to you by your credit card company. This is considered to be your bill. Identity theft, which would be missing or suspicious charges. Notify the company if this does happen. This is going to add security to your purchases and your ability to obtain and use credit. You can keep track of all of your spending online. More often than not, there is an app or a website that you can access and log into, and you can also register for security alerts through some type of messaging, whether or not that be email, text, or both. Now, companies may also offer damage protection. So if you were to order something online from Amazon, or if you were to purchase something from a department store and the merchandise was damaged, you might have protection from your credit card company and may not have to process that payment until the merchandise has been either returned or replaced before the credit card company will go ahead and process payment. So it's a benefit to be able to do that and have protection on your purchases. Companies will offer payment due date reminders. So this is going to help you keep from being charged late fees. So you might be getting within 10 days of your due date of your bill, and a notification will be sent to you to confirm that you have made your payment. And if you haven't, you can go ahead and submit that payment as soon as possible. Okay, so you can also use it to build credit history and a credit score, which is very important. because credit cannot be obtained with poor credit history or poor credit scores. So by using your credit card regularly, but then also making your monthly payments on time, you're building a solid credit history, and that is going to make you look trustworthy to lenders. So lenders are going to be a lot more willing to lend you money, or at least provide you with credit when asked if you have a solid credit history. You can use them practically anywhere. Credit cards are accepted worldwide, including overseas. And we'll talk about some different ways here just in a little bit on how to use credit cards effectively. It also boosts your purchasing power. So now you can make online purchases. You can make purchases through the mail. And chances are most of you, if not all of you, have already made some type of online purchase, possibly using a vehicle such as Amazon. If you click on the link below here, you can see how credit scores work. So if you take a look at that, you'll see some more resources on how credit scores work, how they are calculated, and what the impact of a credit score is going to be on your ability to obtain credit. Some of these we will also be going over in guided practice and discussions in class. All right, you can use it to save money. Believe it or not, when you use a credit card and you build a solid credit history and improve your credit score, you're going to be able to obtain future credit with lower interest rates. Lower interest rates means it's going to be a lower amount of money that has to be paid back on items such as mortgages like homes and property, cars, or other big ticket items that you might be looking to purchase down the road, which could end up saving you money in the long run. You can use it to get rewards. This is one of the big benefits or the big reasons that I use my credit card. You can use your credit card to earn a variety of different awards, and usually some of these credit card companies have specific rewards offered with different cards. Possibly cash back on everyday purchases, including gasoline and groceries. This is a reward that I have on my credit card, which is very, very beneficial to me, and I use it all the time. Airline miles. If you are someone who does a lot of traveling, using your credit card could help you build up airline miles so that you can take a trip here or a trip there and pay little to nothing for that trip because you've already earned your miles by using your credit card. You can use it for peace of mind when traveling. And here's why. This is why this is very important when it comes to credit cards. Credit cards are going to offer benefits such as travel and emergency assistance. The nice thing about using credit cards, especially when traveling or making any purchase, is if it is an unauthorized purchase, which means you did not make it, you can report it to the credit card company and they will stop payment. As opposed to buying something with a debit card where the money comes out of your checking account and then it is gone and usually cannot be obtained back if it was taken or used for an unauthorized purchase. You can use it to reserve a room in a hotel, and actually sometimes you need to have a credit card to reserve a hotel room just in case there are damages. The hotel has a way of redeeming those costs for the damages and what needs to be repaired. Now there's also negatives. So not only is it just positives, but there's also negatives. One of the first negatives is they can provide you with a sense of security in making purchases and overspending. Consumers feel compelled to spend more money than they have because you have that credit option available to you. Consumers may continuously roll over the balance for several months, and as the balance increases that is owed, so do the interest payments and the amount of interest that's accumulating as well. So not only should you be using your credit card to make purchases, but you should also be paying it back. Utilize this video to kind of see how to wisely, or what some of the pitfalls might be, or how credit cards are used in an unwise manner. And then what we need to understand too is that when you default on a credit card payments, that means that you are charged with late fees and interest, increasing the debt load. So now your monthly income, more and more of it's being tied up in credit, less for you to spend on other items. Okay, if it's also used in an unwise manner, you might end up carrying a large amount of credit cards, which isn't too favorable in the eyes of lenders. If you have 6 or 7 credit cards, lenders might look at that as assumed, an amount of assumed debt, meaning it might not be wise to lend this individual any more money. Acquiring too much credit card debt can ruin your credit score, which is going to limit your ability to obtain credit in the future. Credit card debt can obviously end up leading into bankruptcy, and credit card fraud is also a possibility. So go ahead and click on that and you can view that resource as well on what credit card fraud is. So credit card fraud, if we take a look at the specifics and summarize some things of what credit card fraud is. What you should do if you suspect someone is using your credit card. What are some types of credit card fraud or credit fraud that are out there that you need to be aware of? And then number 3, how can you prevent credit fraud? All of these are valid questions that you should be asking yourself as you protect yourself with your credit from fraudulent use. Now, to avoid the credit card pitfalls, because there are some out there, we need to be aware of a few. So in order to avoid the pitfalls of credit cards and maximize their benefits, we need to do some things. There's some things that we need to be aware of. First of all, keep track of your purchases by closely reviewing your monthly statements and comparing them back to the receipts that you have from those merchants that you made the purchases. Have a budget and avoid overspending. Building a budget, which is what we have already done, is a great tool to use to keep yourself from overspending, because credit is a great temptation that might lead you into overspending. Make an effort to pay off your credit card balances at the end of each month so that there is zero balance on your card for the start of every month. Make purchases with reliable companies and take extra precautions when making purchases online. I think that goes without saying. Do not purchase with companies you're not aware of. And obviously you want to be safe when you are making your online purchases. Report stolen cards immediately to your credit card company. That can lock your card so no other fraudulent purchases can be made without your knowledge. All right, so what to know when getting your first credit card? Here's a YouTube video, which is a great resource, which takes you through some tips on what you should know before getting that first card. Once you have gone through all of that, then take some time and go through the credit score quiz. We'll see how well you score on that. We will be revisiting this in class as well. Now, with credit also comes the threat of identity theft. Identity theft is not the same as credit fraud, but it is also a threat. Someone steals your personal information, such as name, date of birth, social security number, etc., and then uses that information to possibly create accounts and obtain credit in your name. So by taking your identity, it's not necessarily credit fraud because they are an individual trying to act as you rather than just steal your credit. Much harder to deal with than just credit fraud, because now you have to be able to prove identity of who the individual is, but more importantly, prove the identity of who the individual isn't. You want to educate yourself about identity theft and be as smart as possible. Here is an article that can help you with understanding what identity theft is and how to protect yourself from identity theft so that you don't become a victim. How does it happen? How does it affect you when it does happen? What should you look out for? What should you do if identity theft happens to you? All of those are questions you want to ask and have answered when it comes to educating yourself about identity theft. All right, this concludes the credit presentation lecture. Please make sure that you have answered all of the embedded questions, and we will be using the information presented in this presentation lecture for guided practice and independent practice activities that we will be doing in class. I will see you next time we meet.